CVM News at 7 Wednesday, courtesy of
Your love lives on with life insurance from Sagicor.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, JLP supporters demand Seizure, reject Tavares Finson. KSAMC questioning NWC's halt of water quality results. Decision 2025, numbers don't lie. JLP, PNP go for the breaker or tiebreaker in St. James West Central. In the business report, a masterclass in digital transaction. We have living the life and there's also sports. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. It's Wednesday, May 14, 2025. I'm Nika Lewis. Thank you so much for joining us. Political tensions linger within the Jamaica Labour Party JLP as some constituents vow to withdraw their support if Delano Seizure is not appointed as the replacement for longtime Member of Parliament Carl Samuda. The dissenting supporters have made it clear that they do not recognize Christian Tavares Finson, who is believed to have backing from senior members of the JLP leadership. CVM News visited the belly of the constituency today. In the heart of St. Andrew North Central, roadwork is visibly underway. Beyond the surface of progress lies tension and uncertainty as the Jamaica Labour Party JLP grapples with internal challenges regarding who should replace outgoing MP Carl Samuda. His endorsement of Delano Seizure carries considerable weight due to his long-standing influence in the constituency. However, the JLP hierarchy appears to favor Christian Tavares Finson, whose lineage connects him directly to Senate President Tom Tavares Finson, a former opponent during Samuda's tenure with the PNP. During visits to communities off Red Hills Road, it became evident that residents want Seizure.
I say one Delano Seizure, him want, we don't know another person. Delano.
What do you like about Delano?
Delano campaign the people, him sit and him talk to everybody. Him try to understand what needs and everything. Delano wants, sir.
Why Christian their church, you know? But I don't know him, I never see him yet. So I can't say, you know?
The constituents feel that their voices are being overlooked by the JLP's leadership, something they confronted the JLP General Secretary about at the party headquarters on Monday. The message is clear: if Seizure does not emerge as the candidate after nomination day, there will be consequences.
Delano may vote for sir, so if Delano, we don't get Delano, we not vote. Delano. We're not voting for nobody else but Delano before Sir Samuda go back. We want Delano. They must make the delegates speak for themselves. Then if we just throw nobody power because Delano alone we see. We don't know no Tavares or nobody. Delano alone. He come in here rap with we talk to it. You know? Me say the whole of we in a park lane. I go home we vote if we not get Delano. Believe you me.
Samuda in the 1990s switched allegiance from the JLP to the PNP. This shift was largely due to conflicts with then party leader Edward Siaga. After serving under the PNP and retaining his seat in 1993, Samuda returned to the JLP in 1997 and won again. They say their insistence on Seizure is a desire for continuity and representation that aligns more closely with their needs rather than what may be perceived as an imposition from party hierarchy.
Why some curry up business are going on, I don't know about something are going on behind the scene what we don't know about. You understand? and that is not right. Give we who we want.
No, because what happened, we understand that he was elected before we decide to elect Seavright.
St. James West Central is a political battleground, and Decision 2025 could be a historic tiebreaker, with Dr. Andre Horton and Marlene Malahoo Fort set for a rematch. Both parties are analyzing recent local election results for an edge. Andre Jebinson analyzes their odds in Numbers Don't Lie.
St. James West Central has long been recognized as a melting pot of diverse community types, encompassing a wide socioeconomic spectrum from affluent neighborhoods to economically challenged areas. The political landscape is also diverse. We pick up from 2007, when former PNP MP and Tourism Minister Francis Tolo attempted a political comeback. The fierce contest was against the JLP's Clive Mullings, the former energy minister who already had served a term. He narrowly defeated Tolo. Though the PNP pulled off 3 consecutive terms from 1989 to 1997, St. James West Central has never given one MP 3 terms. So in 2011, Sharon Folks Abrahams from the PNP broke Mullings' streak, sending him into retirement with a slim margin of just 673 votes. Folks Abrahams faced considerable criticism during her time in office, which ultimately culminated in her defeat by Marlene Malahoo Fort in 2016. The subsequent election cycle in 2020 saw Malahoo Fort facing off against economist Dr. Andre Horton, a native. Malahoo Fort doubled her majority from 2016. So, looking at the data over the last 4 election cycles, the JLP has seen an increasing percentage win in St. James West Central. The raw numbers for the JLP have fluctuated over the period. Conversely, support for the PNP has dwindled. However, questions have been raised about underlying vulnerabilities within the JLP's support base. Both parties are keen on not ignoring data from the 2024 local government election. Local results are sometimes used as a barometer for both parties to gauge their strengths moving forward. In 2024, the PNP secured a lead over the JLP by 135 votes and retained 2 of the 3 divisions. Only the figures have changed when compared to the divisional performance from the general election in 2020. Looking ahead to 2025, it appears there will be a rematch between Dr. Horton and Malahoo Fort. Since the seat was drawn in 1976, the PNP and JLP have each claimed victory 5 times. This sets an intriguing stage in Decision 2025, which will serve as a tiebreaker. Andre Jebinson, CVM News.
In other news now, the owner of a premises which was raided by the police in St. Elizabeth Wednesday is being sought after several high-end motorcycles were seized. The initial investigation led law enforcement to a motorcycle reportedly stolen in the United States. Local police say their probe will, of course, expand beyond the constabulary force.
Seized in St. Elizabeth, a parish once known for its relative peace and plentiful agricultural offerings, were a range of motorcycles deemed illegal. Police say the seizure is part of a weeks-long investigation that revved into action when they found a bike reportedly stolen in the U.S.
This morning, major operations commenced across the St. Elizabeth Division. A number of areas were impacted, particularly on the southern side of the parish, areas to include Junction, Tophill, Southfield, and we're currently in the Mayersville new building area. Where we are, a number of motorbikes were seized, 5 high-end motorbikes to include 2 BMW motorbikes were seized at this location. It is important to note that this investigation commenced several weeks ago, where 1 high-end motorbike was seized in an operation not far from here. That bike was stolen in the United States, and intelligence led us to a particular address.
Officer Minto also shared his findings as they persisted.
As we expanded that operation and that investigation, it led us to this premises where the other 5 motorbikes were seized. The investigation will also expand beyond the JCF, given that these bikes carry a CC rating of 1,000, and at least one of the bikes has already been registered to a local owner in this area. We will continue our investigation with the other authorities, to include the Island Traffic Authority, the tax office, and to identify where persons who may have assisted in getting this motorbike to be so registered.
The commanding officer also announced other seizures during Wednesday's raid. There's also an urgent appeal for the owner of the premises where the bikes were raided to report to the police. Another motor vehicle was recovered this morning in the main area. That motor vehicle was stolen and is now in the custody of the police. The operation is ongoing at this time. It's a joint operation between other formations from the JCF, to include PSTEB, Specialized Operations or AFAT team out of area, as well as members of the Jamaica Defence Force. I want to appeal to the owner of this premises that we're at to report to the Black River Police. He or she is required for questioning as to the origin of these bikes. He's reassuring the people there that law enforcement remains committed to their safety and well-being while tackling elements bent on creating chaos. Shante McNeil, CVM News.
More CVM News at 7 in just a moment.
Just a little girl, but I have big dreams, and one day all my dreams are going to come true. That's why I'm glad Mommy opened a Sagicor Bank Star Savers account for me. It's the best gift she could ever give me, because one day I won't be little anymore, and my small savings are going to grow big. I even got my own debit card. Give your child a gift that will grow. Open a Sagicor Bank Star Savers account today.
Transform your outdoor space into the perfect place for unforgettable memories. With Outdoor Projects Limited, we bring style, comfort, and durability to your outdoor living. Visit 29B Cardiff Hall, Runaway Bay, St. Anne. Call 876-920-1949 or email outdoorprojectsjamaica.com to book your consultation. Outdoor Projects Limited, bringing life to your outdoor living.
It took us 9 years to get to this point. We have been planning this to put in zones of special operation, deployment of the states of public emergency. Whilst that was happening, we're investing in the JDF, maximizing the equipment and capability and training. And then we started to invest in the police, changing their vehicles, changing their telecommunications, changing their training and doctrine and leadership, investing in their investigative capabilities and intelligence gathering. JCF today is not the same as the JCF 10 years ago. So those criminals who believe that they are operating in the same space are mistaken. And it is important that I warn them, because when they get what is coming to them, and there are those who will cry out in sympathy for them, the society will know that I went to great lengths publicly to warn them, and I would encourage you to take my words seriously.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Welcome back. Thousands of pensioners are in for a financial boost this August as the government moves to increase benefits under the National Insurance Scheme. The announcement came during the sectoral debate on Tuesday, with the Labour and Social Security Minister pointing to a strong performance of the National Insurance Fund. But while the move has been welcomed, at least one expert is raising questions about long-term sustainability. Courtney Lewis has more.
NIS pensioners are set to receive more Social Security benefits come August. That's according to Minister of Labour and Social Security, Pernell Charles Jr., who revealed the upcoming increase during his sectoral debate presentation on Tuesday, crediting the strong performance of the National Insurance Fund.
Pensioners who now receive $4,200 per week will see an increase to $4,620 per week. Pensioners who receive $3,500 will see an increase to $3,850, from $3,000 to $3,300. And the old age widowers and invalidity grant will increase from $60,000 to $65,000. The special child and orphan pension will increase from $6,000 to $6,600 per week. And while the special child and orphan grant will increase from $75,000 to $80,000.
Development economist Sandre Roden welcomes the expansion of NIS benefits, particularly for vulnerable groups, but says it remains to be seen if these measures will adequately meet the rising costs of living.
These systemic changes as it relates to social benefits, they do take time, and for a small island developing state like Jamaica, it's not something that can be implemented in a very quick succession, considering our debt repayment schedules and all the other things we have to budget for: education, national security, etc. So what I would say is that it is a good step towards improvement in the long run.
Roden praised the government's universal and inclusive approach to social protection, but expressed concern over the effectiveness of targeted programs like those for sugar workers, saying there's little data on how well they perform.
We have to implement programs or not implement programs. We also need to judge them, have key performance indicators to see if this actually impacts the sugar workers, or do you pull this program and rescope, or do you ensure that this program continues because it's doing so well? We have to have those mechanisms. I can't judge prior to it being implemented. There needs to be a baseline for there to then be some form of judgment, and that baseline only can exist if the mechanisms for tracking also exist.
The pundit also says in the NIF's expansion, the GOJ must pay attention to market volatility, liquidity risks in the oversight of the National Insurance Fund.
All the NIF has to do is continue down the path it's on by doing the prudent investments it would have been doing, because they're obviously doing well, regular financial assessments, they're doing their audits, etc., and ensuring that the policy framework continues to safeguard the fund and its integrity and its capacity to support the current and future beneficiaries. And that is what we'd like to see in NIF and in its improvement.
Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
Beyond farming, the true impact of poultry was a theme that resonated with the over 200 delegates in attendance from across the region as the Caribbean Poultry Association CPA 8th International Technical Symposium and Exhibition got underway. Joel Crosskill tells us more.
Ambassador David Prendergast, director of the CARICOM Secretariat Guyana, reminds that despite any setbacks to the region's ambitions to reduce food imports by 25%, which was revised from 2025 to 2030, the poultry sector has the greatest potential to lead the way.
Poultry is without question the most consumed meat in all CARICOM countries, accounting for over 75% of total meat consumption. The industry's role is absolutely critical in strengthening regional food security, driving economic development, creating employment, fostering intra-regional trade, and stimulating investment in the agricultural sector. We believe that the private sector, led by organizations like the CPA, must be at the forefront of this effort. The region's role is to provide a conducive ecosystem that fosters and encourages economic growth and development, as well as developing policies and programs that promote increased intra-regional trade in poultry, and this will in turn stimulate essential cross-border investment and production.
While the new legislation surrounding the regional trade in animals and animal products has not yet been implemented, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining Floyd Green spoke of the capacities that have been built over time domestically in anticipation of increased regional trade in agriculture.
And over the last 10 years, we have seen a 40% growth in our production numbers. In 2023, Jamaica produced 137 million kilograms of poultry. Fortunately, we're about 90% self-sufficient in poultry production. And in relation to eggs, we are over 100% self-sufficient in eggs. Save and except when we have our weather challenges. But the good news is that looking at the figures, the rebound is happening in a real way.
However, for keynote speaker Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who noted a 4% reduction in poultry imports in 2024, the true test of self-sufficiency not only ensures Jamaica can feed itself, but also the increasing number of guests who come to visit, craving a genuine Jamaican culinary experience.
The government of Jamaica is making not just strategic investments in infrastructure and human resource development, but we're also taking bold policy steps. We have directed the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Tourism to work with the tourism sector to ensure that there is strong coordination between agriculture and tourism. We must never see the market for our product as just 3 million Jamaicans. We're having over 4 million visitors coming to Jamaica every year. There is the entire CARICOM market, plus all the people who visit CARICOM. So we must see visitors as a part of our market that we are servicing. The critical point here is that we must be able not only to feed our local population, but we should be able to feed 100% all the people who visit our islands.
Joel Crosskill, CVM News.
Stay with us because there's more to come right after the break.
The craving that makes everything crunch. The crispy barbecue zinger is back with barbecue sauce, cheddar cheese, bacon, and crispy onions. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
What can 16 extra grams of protein do for you? True Shape Protein Plus. With 16 extra grams of protein, fuel the hustle.
I am just a little girl, but I have big dreams. And one day, all my dreams are going to come true. That's why I'm glad Mommy opened a Sagicor Bank Star Savers account for me. It's the best gift she could ever give me. Because one day, I won't be little anymore. And my small savings are going to grow big. I even got my own debit card. Give your child a gift that will grow. Open a Sagicor Bank Star Savers account today.
Get your Thursday going with Yendi and Dennis. First up, it's all about money convos with kids. Then we've got more kids. Kids Unfiltered will bring you the sound of the future. And we'll wrap things up with the crew from Guardsman. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
Welcome back. A year after a centenarian who committed her life to education was interviewed for Living the Life, Carolyn Brown pulled out her memory log about travel across Jamaica and worldwide leisure trips.
Living the life defies time and laws.
This was me in Rome, at the Vatican City, where the Pope was.
The year 1983. And despite the time span, Lily Jane Long, at 101 years old now, still recounts her public transportation trials as a teacher and who taught her to drive.
So having a family meant certain restrictions in movement and in the choice of the workplace. In one instance, there was a need to live in Brownstown and commute 9 miles away to Bamboo for work. With no direct transport, it meant using the single bus traversing that route, which plied from Kingston to Montego Bay. I thus arrived at school at 7 a.m. to begin work at 9. In the evenings after work, I sometimes waited until 10 p.m. on the single bus, which was usually broken down somewhere. On 2 successive days, the bus did not turn up, and my absence drew the anger of the head teacher, who not only made a note of my absence in the logbook, but also set the class in disarray. Upon returning and complaining about his action, he promptly disclosed that teachers should reside in the school district. This was not financially possible for me at that time, and thus strong words were passed.
Upon reflection, she had her own conviction.
I had to admit that although the head teacher was in this case being unreasonable, he did have a point. I should have been in my class, and I was not there. We had a problem because the bus was unreliable.
So you see, this bus problem is long time.
Yet a long time.
Fast forward to when she steered her own vehicle.
How old you were when you stopped driving?
90-something.
93 years old in 2016, in fact.
How they manage you out the road then? With these young people, or you manage out of?
I would deal with them right now. Right now.
How?
Never afraid for them. I was trained to drive. Here's my teacher. He's the one that taught me to drive. He's the one that taught me to drive.
And so when in your 90s you were still driving and you were not afraid?
No, and I would drive right now.
Like a snail?
No, no, no.
I have a feeling that you drove like a snail.
No, dear, not me. As a matter of fact, I was... I supervised schools, you know. So I had to go throughout the given area, whatever area I supervised. I had to drive. I didn't drive like a snail at all.
You're a bad girl.
No, I drive good.
You never buy your license?
No, never buy my license at all. Never buy my license.
That's living the life. I'm Carolyn Brown for CVM News. Living the life defies time and laws.
We're now joined by Jordan Fort, who knows what's to come in sports.
Well, Nika, you know, the Jamaica Premier League playoffs continue tomorrow. We're at the semi-final stage now. Montego Bay is where the action has shifted to, and the home team will be in action, Mobay United versus Mount Pleasant. But Mount Pleasant, they have extra fuel to their fire because guess what? They were challenged by Cavalier in the boardroom. They ultimately won that challenge, didn't lose any points, but they were fined $25,000 for breaching competition rules. So let's see how they respond to that. Plus, we're talking local basketball, we're talking NBA playoffs, and lots more in sports.
Sounds like something I'd want to see, and you should too. We'll take a break. More right after.
Barbecue Zinger is back with barbecue sauce, cheddar cheese, bacon, and crispy onions. KFC, it's finger-licking good. The Crispy Barbecue Zinger from KFC, available for a limited time. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
The time by KFC is...
This is a Child Month tip from CVM Television.
How can you help us build our resilience? Here are 3 ways you can. Help us to cope with feelings of disappointment when things go wrong. Teach us how to not be afraid of facing our fears, and empower us to make age-appropriate decisions.
That was a Child Month tip from CVM Television, read by Blake Allen Jr.
Thanks so much for staying with us. We continue the news. Chairman of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, the KSAMC, Andrew Swaby, is questioning the sudden halt of providing water quality reports to the corporation. Adrian Williams tells us more about the concerns shared by Kingston's mayor.
As first reported by CVM News, the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, KSAMC, continues to challenge water quality results from the National Water Commission, NWC. The municipality now questions the decision of the commission to put a stop on providing them with the results. Chairman for the corporation, Mayor Andrew Swaby, says this is a disturbing coincidence.
Since the council passed a resolution on the matter of water quality, the NWC has not attended the Public Health and Sanitation Committee meetings and has since formally indicated that they will no longer be providing water quality results to the corporation.
The halt comes amidst highlight of alleged arrears by the KSAMC of approximately $150 million to the NWC. Swaby says the bulk of the outstanding amount was accrued during the previous administration. He finds the move to be quite coincidental, as conversations have been had with the NWC and no word of the balance owing.
It is quite interesting that this matter only came to light after raised concerns in this council about the accuracy and transparency of water quality data provided by NWC.
The KSAMC is seeking to get their house in order and says they are not trying to be delinquent.
Let me emphasize, we are not running from our responsibilities. That is the reason why this administration has been actively stepping up our own revenue collection efforts to recover funds owed to us so that we can in turn pay our bills and fulfill our responsibilities to the people of Kingston St. Andrew.
Up to news time, calls to the NWC were unsuccessful. Adrian Williams for CVM News.
Over now to the business report with Joel Crosskill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today. Only the second of its kind, Jamaica MasterCard Day 2025, meant access was granted to the overlap between the present and future of digital transaction in the region during a masterclass in domain expertise, courtesy of Dalton Fowles, Country Manager, Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados and Eastern Caribbean for MasterCard, who described how a transition from cash-intensive commerce on a digital journey to a world beyond cash is being observed and encouraged.
2019, MasterCard established a local office in Jamaica. We really have a small team that is focused on driving digital adoption, financial inclusion, and the acceleration of payments digitally across the region.
In a cash-intensive economy, outside of the fact that there's quite a bit of cost associated with it, it does not necessarily allow these small businesses to grow. So helping them to become part of the digital landscape, and we tend to use the word inclusive growth, right? Because it's extremely important that they are part of this economy. If you sell in cash, then you access to credit is very limited because your bankers doesn't have a frame of reference. They don't have the basis on which to give you credit, and credit is what drives the economy. Credit.
While the global technology company's brand identity seems almost synonymous with the payments industry, Fowl suggests that as technologies and consumer habits evolve, so too does opportunity for growth.
Around 2019, when we look at PCE penetration, right, and PCE refers to the percentage of your personal consumption that you're doing by a card, it was about 40. Today we're about 45. And we expect in Jamaica and the Caribbean, broadly speaking, that by 2030 we're going to lift another 10% to 55. So again, we are seeing the evolution where, and the research bears it out. More and more people are very comfortable making payments electronically. As the technology evolves, what has happened is that we're really creating an environment where everyone, for example, smartphones, could potentially become an acceptance device. So we're very, very high on tap on phone. It's what we call a low-cost acceptance device. So no longer does small business need to incur the additional cost of actually investing in a physical point-of-sale terminal. In the payment space, there's a lot of risk associated with payment transaction. It's our responsibility to make sure that consumers feel secure while we're building out innovation, making it convenient to pay where you want, when you want, and how you want. We're really pivoting in tokenization. What is tokenization? So if you go back a couple of years, for example, when you put your card, for example, out there online, that PAN could be intercepted. And all the relevant data could be intercepted, and that's usually the basis of a lot of online fraud. The network have pivoted to tokenization, and what that means is that when you do a transaction now, your actual card number is not going over the web anymore. It's essentially translated to a token, which can only be used for that transaction. So even if intercepted, it has no more use.
In describing the company's vision in driving digital innovation across a network that already operates so reliably that a notification is all that's needed to allay fears of unbalance, the MasterCard country manager's grasp of what is at hand in the payment space was so pointed that you might have been able to hear the exact moment the pin was dropped.
The next wave is authentication. And this is now where, for example, and you may have heard of 3DS2, for example, which was essentially the first wave of making sure that when you do a transaction, then the cardholder can authenticate that transaction. By 2030, we're moving to what we call digital by default. We're actually going to be